Hello, hello.
Yo, yo, yo.
Does this work? Does this work? Yes, it does.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Launch house. Launch house for life. Launch house.
ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting soon.
There you go.
All right, testing.
All right. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
It's pretty good, right?
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Thea Noble, the program manager here in LA, and I'm ecstatic to have Meagan Loyst with us tonight, all the way from New York City. So Meagan is the founder of Gen Z VCs. She's also an investor at Lerer Hippeau. And on top of that, you may have seen her on Bloomberg talking about her hot takes on Web3, on Fox Business, or seen her as a Forbes 30 under 30 founder. Woo! So excited to welcome my good friend Meagan to the stage.
Woohoo! Thanks, Thea. Hi, everyone.
Great, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
I think you're the perfect person to have at this time because the theme of the week has been Web3 creators and supporting female founders, and you happen to have a 26-page manifesto on TikTok, another one on the Metaverse, and you work to invest in a lot of young founders, so glad that we can have you now.
Of course, yeah. And I think one thing I want to note too is like being like a woman has been so core to my experience like my entire life. Why the like moment for me of like I want to be an investor was actually at the All Raise conference, which is a conference for women in venture in particular, but it was seeing Emily Weiss talk on stage about founding Glossier, working with Kirsten Green, a female VC. That was like my magic moment where I was like, I want to be her. And then I sent all my cold emails to all my VCs being like, I want to work with you. I want to do this job forever. And you know, that was in 2019. So that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And a lot's happened since then. But like, I love, like, I think it's like so awesome. Like, I'm so happy to just be speaking to like the female founders cohort in particular. So I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah, and you're also a mentor for Girls Who Invest, so you like have completely been mentoring young girls to get into the finance space as well.
Yeah. And I was a scholar back in 2016. So like, I learned about asset management as like a freshman in college. And that's why I think like for those who aren't familiar with Gen Z VCs, it's a community focused on, of course, like Gen Z VCs, but also like young founders, students, like, and I think the first point of accessibility is always knowledge. And so for me, like the reason I'm an investor so early in my career is because I had these experiences as like a freshman in college. And I got like a head start. And I think even for founders, right, it's like the sooner you know about your idea or what your purpose is, the sooner you can start building and moving towards it. And so a lot of what I do with Gen Z VCs is focused on accessibility and why I think mentorship is so important too.
Yeah, and there's like over 13,000 people in the group. I remember being there in the early days when you tweeted out about it. Tell us a little bit how you've grown that community.
Yeah, well, it's grown entirely organically via word of mouth. And I think the interesting thing, so I get a lot of shit about it being on Slack. Like they're like, wait, you're a Gen Z community on Slack. Like, what are you doing? But the funny thing is I never like planned to grow a community. It happened like literally organically, almost by accident. What I like to say though is like Gen Z VCs happened by accident, but everything from like the moment it started was incredibly intentional about brand building and empowering people in the community to build with one another. And so it started actually from an article. Like I think for me, content has unlocked so much in terms of building my brand, building my community, and also building my career as an investor. I joined Lerer Hippeau in September of 2020, and I had 50 followers on Twitter at the time. I had never written any articles. I'd never been in the press. And what changed my life was an article that I wrote about Gen Z VCs. I had this unique insight that I was a young person working in venture. I had literally no friends. I was living with my parents at the time, and my job was literally to meet founders, to go to events and network with people. And I was like, well, I don't know anyone online. I have no friends. I'm not going to any events. COVID is happening. Like, what am I going to do? So I was like, but I can write. I know I can write. And for me, this insight was like, okay, I'm the youngest person on my team by a factor of a decade. And they're always farming, like all the next gen consumer companies, they're like, oh, you're the target customer. Like, do your Gen Z thing. And I knew there had to be other young investors that were in the exact same spot as I was and probably craving like friendship more than anything. And that was the core insight that helped Gen Z VCs grow on day one. Like that was the pain point. It was people wanted to find and meet other young investors, and how we grew from 30 people to 1,000 people in 4 days, 3,000 a month later, and now a year later, 13,000 or almost 14,000, which is great. But yeah, and it's all just via word of mouth and like having, like, again, I think every company, organization, community has that like magic moment, or like what is this core pain point that you're solving? And for Gen Z VCs, it was that like friendship or connection on day one, when like you join, you know you're gonna meet people that are thinking about the same things and looking for, maybe it's deal flow, maybe it's friendship, maybe it's mentorship. Like you can have all of those things in Gen Z VCs. And so it's grown, yeah, and just through tweeting, like me tweeting, other people tweeting about it. It's community driven in every way.
Yeah, totally. I remember I joined venture capital space out of school, so I was definitely the youngest person, and I only knew like 4 or 5, people that age. And then you came around a couple years later, and I met so many friends through your organization. So, like, didn't exist really until you created that. So it's been awesome to be a part of it. What are some initiatives that Gen Z VCs are doing right now?
So one that's probably relevant for a lot of you guys is last week we launched a marketplace. And so I talked about this before, but like my big belief is like it shouldn't matter how old you are, what your background is. Like you should be able to have the resources to start a company no matter what. And so I launched a marketplace that basically is democratizing the startup stack. So we, like, instead of each of you having to go and talk to like 50 plus partnerships teams, I went and did it. Like, so I spent a couple months, like, well, first I surveyed founders in the community. Again, this was like community led in every way. I surveyed founders. I was like, what does your tech stack look like? What do you love? What do you want? And then I launched a marketplace around that, entirely curated by our founders. And in just the first week alone, we've saved founders almost $4 million in startup stack. So yeah, it's exciting. But yeah, it's like if you need Carta, if you're thinking about hiring and you need a PEO, or you're hiring abroad for the first time and you need to work with like remote.com, like you shouldn't have to think about, okay, like where do I get started? It's like come to the marketplace and you're getting like the best deal that's out there, because I talked to their partnerships team and they're partnering with Gen Z VCs. So that's the latest initiative, but we have like a beta club where we try to create opportunities for students in particular. So like we've even had like high school students get jobs and internships at startups, which like, I mean, I don't even know. I'm not going to talk about what I was doing in high school, but like it wasn't that. It wasn't that. And so like I think again, like we have programs for founders, programs for students, programs for VCs, and all focused on just creating equal opportunity for everyone. And like even for me, so like I didn't go to an Ivy League school. Like my parents don't work in finance. I got my job through cold email. Like everything about, and like I grew my platform from, now I have 30,000 followers on Twitter, which is crazy, and I had 50 a year ago, all from just like hustle, writing, like, and also I think like thinking bigger than just like your life, your day. Like so many of you are building in the creator economy. Like I think about myself as like a creator and a community leader just as much as I do as an investor and also a founder. And I think women in particular, like we can be all of those things like all the time. So yeah, I forgot where we were going, but that's where I'll end it.
That's great. I mean, I remember I saw you, we became Twitter friends when you had like 200 followers, and we connected and became really good friends off of that. And it's like, oh, she's really special. She's going to do something great.
I cold DM'd Thea on Twitter, and I was like, it was Halloween actually, I remember. And I was like, do you want to FaceTime? And she was like, what? I think it's like, I've never, like every job I've ever had has been like a cold email. Every opportunity, like I just think like you have to be shameless when it comes to like putting yourself out there, even when it comes to making friends and hiring and everything. Like I just loved Thea's vibe on Twitter, and I was like, we should be friends. Like I know we should be friends, and now we're hanging out. We're staying. Like I'm staying at our house, and we're good friends. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did, because I had written a DM and I was like, oh, we should meet, but I didn't have the confidence to do it. So that's the whole thing. Like you never know. Like definitely post. Like don't feel like you can't. Everyone has to start somewhere, and I think you've done a great job of like becoming a creator, you know, and then
Thank you.
also even your creator, like your articles you've written on like Mirror, like you've minted them as NFTs. Let's dig into the metaverse one first. I want to talk about, all right, did anyone here see Meagan live stream herself for 5 hours in the metaverse or hear about Meagan in the metaverse? All right, well, you're about to. So can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to like live stream yourself for 5 hours and try out different metaverse products and what you learned?
Yeah, well, the reason I did it though is because like so many people are talking and writing about the metaverse, but I could not name a single investor that was like, I'm in Roblox. Like I talk about Roblox, but like I'm actually experiencing Roblox. So I was like, I think this is like a very Gen Z thing, but I think like being authentic in the things that I'm writing about is so important. And so I was like, okay, I'm writing about all these platforms. I need to experience them for myself. And I also like, it was helpful for like my 55-year-old aunt to be able to like watch me play Zedrun and be like, I get it now. Like she's like, okay, I could watch you win a race and see how excited you were with like your NFT horse. But it was really fun. And I think like there are some really specific nuances that I think you can't fully realize without experiencing it yourself. And I think for me, one of the biggest insights was the fact that like there's single player experiences in the metaverse and there are multiplayer experiences. You can have both, but I think if you're spending like long periods of time in the metaverse, and I think when we think about the future and like the $800 billion opportunity by 2024, the idea is that you're going to be spending more time like working in the metaverse, playing in the metaverse, and relaxing in the metaverse, right? Like there's going to be a bunch of different applications, different use cases, and for me, like two out of the 5, I had people actually like showing me around, like the head of community at Spatial, the CEO of Gather took me on a tour of their office, and those were 2 of my favorite experiences because it was an experience that I was like sharing with someone else versus me just like roaming around Decentraland for 45 minutes being like, okay, a gallery, there's another gallery, this is great. But like in Spatial, for example, the community lead, he was like, oh, like we have a space world, like do you want to see it? I was like, of course, yes, literally yes. And like we watched a rocket launch and like you could look up and it was like a life-size spaceship, like as if like you were seeing it in person. And like I never would have known to get there if I wasn't experiencing it for myself. And I think the other thing, specifically, like there's a lot of hype around like the Sandbox, Decentraland, like a lot of these like virtual worlds that are developing. But like I think what's going to be really interesting is how these ecosystems think about retention and like what is keeping people in these ecosystems over time if there's not gaming at the core. Because like when you think about Gather and enterprise, right, like you are coming into the office every day, like that is the expectation because your company is paying for it. When it comes to like the Sandbox or Decentraland or a lot of these like metaverse platforms, you go, and if you're not there for like an event or you're seeing a friend, it's like, what are you doing there? Versus Roblox, it's like you're coming to play games, and it's great if your friends are there too, but like you are having fun. And so I think for any metaverse company, like thinking about those long-term retention mechanisms are going to be super, super important, and I think gaming is going to play a role there too. So, and one other thing I will note too is accessibility, and thinking about like the little things, even just like how you're navigating in the metaverse. Is it going to be just like 4 keys? Is it going to be a combination of like keypad and keys? Is it going to be a combination of you can join via virtual reality or just like on your desktop? Like how accessible is your platform? These are like little things. But like I didn't get through writing my article, but I got through live streaming in the metaverse. And so I think like anytime you're building a product or writing an article or like doing anything, you want to experiencing it yourself or speak to your users who get it. And so I thought for me in the metaverse article in particular, it was really important to do that.
Yeah, that's great. I see actually a couple of people in here who are in our Gather program. So we have a launch house cohort that goes through Gather. So it's
That's
been
cool.
awesome for me to experience it, and I totally understand it so much better. Today we actually had a go-kart race with the team.
Yes.
So we had a little bit of that gaming, so like understanding like, you know, you're not just like co-working, but what else is there? And so that was
Yeah.
so fun to experience because I wouldn't have understood it unless I like was on the little cart and like racing around with like Brett and team members, and it was super fun.
We did, yeah, like Philip and I did go, and I actually beat Philip. This
Oh,
was like, it was my
wow.
first time in Gather, and he was like, this has never happened before. But yeah, it was like I would have never known how to get there or that was even like possible in the metaverse. And I think too, right, when you think about like the workplace in the metaverse, and I think what is so missing on Zoom is like those moments in the car after you get in the meeting and you're like, whoever you were at the meeting with talking about like, what did you think? Like, what was great? Like you miss those like water cooler moments. And I think in the metaverse, you get that back. because like you're in these environments with people and you can just like hop in a room virtually versus because like you're not gonna stop a Zoom call and then hop in another Zoom call just to catch up on a Zoom call. Like that's just like at least where I work, it doesn't exist. But like I think that's gonna be something that's really interesting on the metaverse side.
Yeah, that's super interesting. We could dig a lot deeper into that, but I want to get on to TikTok because you wrote another great article on TikTok. And there was a lot of TikToking happening in the house today. So I know a lot of us have experienced that in real life. Can you talk a little bit about how you've seen like new startups leverage TikTok to either connect with investors or to get, new customers or show product discovery? Like what are good ways that startups are leveraging TikTok?
Totally. I think the most important thing, I think when you're launching on day one, it is really important to have some type of like consistency to your content. It doesn't have to be like, I'm strategizing and creating like 3 different series that I'm going to do. Honestly, like the best TikTok content comes from being like totally organic and you don't know which one is going to blow up. But because of that, you need to have like constant content coming out. So like I've actually been interviewing a lot of founders that are building on TikTok, either their personal accounts as founders or businesses that are starting their TikTok accounts. And the common theme is like put out like 3 to 4 videos a day for 30 days. Figure out what works. I know it sounds like a lot. And especially when you're a founder and you're like building your business. The perfect example in my mind is Nadia Okamoto. I'm not sure if any of you guys know her. So she's the founder of August. It's a Gen Z sort of like period company brand. And she like literally posts her period blood on TikTok. It is like very controversial, but she has 2.5 million followers because like that is her niche. Mm-hmm. And you will see in her comment section, it is like young women who like for the first time are like, oh I got my period, Nadia. Like, should I try the pads? Should I buy the tampons? And she's engaging with them. Like, she's building content and she's driving a shit ton of traffic to August. Like, her brand as like a female founder building, a female Gen Z founder building a period brand for Gen Z women, it worked so well. And it's because like she took a lot of chances in her content and like building her own personal brand and having it work for her actual brand that she was building. And she puts out an insane amount of content every day. Like I think it's something like 10 to 20 videos now. But she's like every much as like a content creator, she's a founder. And I do believe that especially for consumer companies, but like really any company, even on I'm like our TikTok person internally. So like on President's Day, I was running around Washington Square Park for 2 hours with one of my portfolio companies filming TikToks.
Great.
keep an eye out for that. It's gonna be on the Meet Air account. But like it is like, I think you have to be thinking creatively about where your customers are living and how you're building your brand. And the reality is like TikTok is the best place for discoverability. Like you don't have to think about building an audience. You can just be authentic to your brand and build from there. Because like, it's not like, if you're familiar, of course, like it's all about the FYP and like building your niche, finding your niche and figuring out what works for you in terms of strategy is like the most important thing. And trust me, like you can't be too niche. I don't think that's possible on TikTok. So no matter what you're building, like there's definitely going to be some type of angle where you can create like your niche for yourself.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. Digging a little deeper into the whole like discoverability, because there's so many ways you can be discovered on TikTok. Like TikTok has like given discoverability like rise to like Olivia Rodrigo, who I love, or like, different types of artists. Like, can you talk about why you think it's so great for like getting people to be discovered?
Well, I think art, especially when you think, and 60% plus of users on TikTok are Gen Z. When you think about our generation, we're the first truly digital generation, but like TikTok trends unite us all in a very different way. Like I remember last summer, I was meeting up with like a friend who I hadn't seen in 5 years, and we saw each other and we were like, oh, do you want to make TikToks? And like, we knew all the same dances. Like it wasn't like we had to like chat. Like that has never existed at any other point in my life, other than maybe doing like the Parent Trap dance when I was like 10 years old.
The handshake.
Like, the handshake,
oh my
yeah.
God, yes.
Like, but that exists every single day on TikTok, and it like there's gonna of course be different content for different types of people, but you recognize the same sounds. Like I cannot talk to my best friend for like 3 weeks, and then we get together and we're always like singing, talking about the same TikTok sounds. It's like creepy. Like that we're all like living like parallel lives because we all spend like an hour or two on TikTok every night. And even for me, I downloaded TikTok, I think in October of 2020 for work, because I was like, my boss was like, I'm on TikTok and it's really helpful. So I was like, I'm gonna be on TikTok. And I I genuinely downloaded it for work. And now I spend 14 hours a week on TikTok, which is obscene. But like that is what I do from like 12 at like midnight to 2 a.m. when I'm like relaxing or like ending my day. And it is genuinely helpful to my portfolio companies to be like one of our portfolio companies, they create like sex products and toys. Anytime I end up on like sex talk, I'm sending those influencers. I'm like, you should get in touch with them. She's doing great content. This is awesome. And also like knowing what is trending, like what sound should you be making TikToks to? Like what are some creative ideas that you should be thinking about? What is like a potential series that you could be launching? Like it is genuinely helpful and even like, I would say generally like you're all founders building whatever it may be, like you will probably end up talking to like younger investors or younger VCs at some point. Don't discard them because they're junior VCs. What I will say is like, it's a different perspective. Maybe it's you know, like my value add for like a lot of the boards that I sit on, and I work like I'm like the board member for our creator economy companies, and it's because I am a creator, I'm a community leader, and I get their business, and I can also be really helpful. Like it doesn't like, again, I'm 24 years old. This has been like the craziest year of my entire life in terms of building a brand, like finding my voice, all of the things, but like age is just a number in every single way. And even when I was on Bloomberg, like one of the first questions Emily Chang asked me, she was like, well, what do you know that your partners who have been investing for 20 years don't know? And I was like, in my mind, I was like, that's the wrong question, Emily. But it's a different perspective. It's like why you need diverse teams when you're building your company. It's why you need diverse investors on your cap table. It's just, you need different perspectives. And like, how are you going to invest in like the companies that are being built for the future, being built for Gen Z, if you don't have your customer on the cap table? Like that is incredibly important. And so for me, it's like, I'm helping our companies with their TikTok strategy. I'm putting them in touch with their target users. I have thousands of students in my community and like hundreds on a text first basis that I'm like, oh, you're looking for like women in North Dakota? Great. Let me introduce you to like Victoria and Emily. Like they're whatever. Like that is how I help my companies. And it's different than maybe one of my managing partners, but it is just as helpful, if not more.
Yeah, I was literally just going to ask you about like different value adds you've done. I feel like you're always doing so many creative different value adds, like even at the park with the TikTok and all of that.
Like I do everything. And and this is why I love being an investor. You kind of have to wear a bunch of different hats. Same as being a founder, I think. Like you have to be doing a lot of things, especially in the early days. And for me, it's like, I know that is like my competitive differentiation with my companies, and like they know what to call me for. And it's also just like really fun for me. Like we technically were off for President's Day. I didn't even realize this when I scheduled it because I was so excited. I was like, they're like, can you spend a couple hours with us in the park, like filming TikTok with our cloud mascot? I was like, yes, absolutely. Like I will do this every week if you need me to. It's just really fun. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, the marketplace has been really helpful. Like just being able to like one of my companies texted me the other day. They're like, hey, like we're thinking about onboarding customer service platform, and I sent them an entire thread I did on Twitter yesterday on Intercom. I was like, they're great. You get 100% off your first year and 50% off your second year. Like you can sign up in 10 minutes. And they're like, value add, love that. Thank you so much. Like and I think you have to be creative, and you probably want like really creative people on your board too, because like if you just have people that are just like, yes, great job, like you're doing a great job, this is great, like I mean, whatever, like you want like a diverse set of people that are helping with different things. So the value add, it changes, but I think like you want people that are going to bend over backwards for you and for your company when things are good, when things are bad. And I think like honestly the most important thing when you're choosing an investor is like it's not always the fund or the brand name, it's the person that you're working with, because like those are the people that are going to be with you in the trenches when you're pivoting or you're running out of money. Like you want people that are going to like bend over backwards because they love you, not because you're working with XYZ fund and you think they're great. Like it is the person so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you've also like, I feel like you've dove in so deep. Like I used to work in an ed tech fund. I love that, ed tech dive that you did into like the ed tech market and like pet tech, like, now Web3, so forth. Can you talk about like some trends that you see for the future that you're excited about to invest in?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's interesting. Like a year ago when people were talking about the creator economy, like Web3 was not like part of the conversation. And now it's the entire conversation. I would argue they're synonymous. And it's because like, I think even for myself as a creator, I've talked about this before, but like when my Gen Z VCs article that like kickstarted my entire brand and career, I've made no money on that article. And I've written like 10 or 12 articles now on Medium, $0. I wrote one article on Mirror on the Metaverse, and I made 0.5 ETH. Like it's now, like it fluctuates of course with the dollar, but like it's like $1,500 from 15 people. Like 15 people were like, I love her work. I want to collect her articles in NFT. And that's the creator economy at its heart. It's like empowered ownership. Like I own my work. People can support me because it's an NFT. And it's also easy for me to do it as a creator. I didn't have to jump through hoops to like enter Web3, connect my wallet, write my article, and then literally I clicked a box that said make it an NFT, and it was done. Like it was so easy, and that's why I think like creator tools, like meeting users where they are, but making it like really accessible to everyone. And so for me, it was so helpful. I mean, like I think Mirror did a really good job of building that like early community of people through the right race and making it exclusive. And then they opened it up, and by that time, they already had like whatever it was, like 20,000 followers on Twitter, a really dedicated community, and thought leaders that were writing on Mirror that made it so much easier for everyone else to be like, oh, like Gabby's writing on Mirror, Megan's writing on Mirror, like I need to be writing on Mirror, and you can actually make money doing it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think like the creator economy is certainly one. I think the Metaverse, like the last deal that I led and that we announced was announced on Wednesday. It's an LA founder. It's a company called Nifty League, and it's a play-to-earn gaming metaverse company. They had like a massively successful NFT project, and I think what was like at the core of Web3 and the creator economy, of course, is community. When I shared our funding announcement, it was like the quickest reception I've ever seen on like a tweet of mine, where I had like 50 to 60 people like almost instantly like retweeting it, and it was all people from the Nifty League community. Like they all have Degen NFTs, and they were like, welcome to the community. We're so excited to have you on board. Like, it wasn't like I was an investor. It was like, and like, I have a Degen, like I'm a part of the community, a part of the project. It was like, your family now. Like, and that has never, like, that is like so core to Web3 and building community. It doesn't really happen like that with portfolio companies usually. It's like, you know, your investor friends, maybe some founders or people that are excited about the category, but it's not like that instant community engagement. So I think like with Web3, Metaverse, like those are definitely some areas that I like. And also I would just say like anything that is like making a positive impact on the world. Like my first deal was a digital health company focused on speech telemedicine for children. You would never know, but I have a speech condition. Haha. And like that first deal that I led, it was solving a personal pain point for me, but more importantly, like so many children in America who like have speech conditions and have to overcome it in some way, shape, or form. Another one is actually it's a stealth company, but it's helping. It's an enterprise company helping people with like disabilities be able to tell their employers about it. Like there's a bunch of different companies. Like I think about impact like just as much as I think about like metrics and like what is this company doing for the world. So those are a few, but I think more than anything, especially at seed, and I'm like a seed first money in, like seed check investor, the founder is everything. Like it is so much more about like a person, and a person can convince me on an idea versus being like I can write an article about pet tech, and I did, and a founder reached out and we invested. Like it can be thematic, but I think more important than anything is like the person and why are you the right person to be building this business. So you can be thematic all you want, but like if you're like founder is everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. 60% of early stage startups fail due to team problems, and like it's all about the people. And that was something that I indexed really hard on. So totally agree. There's a room right now of amazing people that are, you know, young, ambitious founders. Like, what's some advice you have for them?
Start building your brand. Like, do it as early as you can. And I think something that's really, really important is being just authentic to who you are. You don't have to just be tweeting about your company 24/7 or doing that on TikTok. Like for me in the very early days, like I was tweeting just as much about Gen Z stuff as it was Shake Shack. And I literally get like Shake Shack gift cards from strangers on Twitter on my birthday because they're like, we know you love Shake Shack, Megan.
I gave you a Shake Shack gift card as well.
You did. But like I think it's like you want people to be able to relate to you not only as like a founder and a thought leader, but as a person who's like very relatable. And that is core to my brand. And like figuring out what your brand is. Like even for me, I'm someone who's just like I have a very like positive and happy and joyful presence on TikTok. And the first time it actually ever really clicked for me was I got into like a really bad car accident last year. Almost died, crazy thing. And it was a week before my 24th birthday. and I got like a bunch of DMs from people on Twitter, like random people. And there were a lot of them were just like, well, A, was like, so happy you're not dead. But B, it was like, you're such a positive presence on my timeline. Like, I'm just so happy you're okay. And just in case we never have a chance to meet, just wanted to like let you know. And I was like, wow, I had no idea that like this was such a core part of my brand. And it's because like, I'm just like a very happy person most of the time. And I put out that energy into the world because it's like very authentic to who I am. Like who you see on Twitter is who you get in person. I love Spanish soap operas. I love glitter. I love euphoria. Like I talk about I tweet about my life and I tweet about who I am. And that is part of the reason why I think Gen Z VCs has grown the way it has. It's like, it's very tied to me, but it's like that authenticity, like it bleeds through me and it bleeds through the community. And I think like as a founder, like however you decide to build your brand and that of your company, like you are going to be the face of your company in a lot of ways. So like making sure that people know who you are and like what you are putting out into the universe is important. So I'd say that's one big piece of advice. And I know a lot of you are working on like your Twitter, your TikToks, like content is really important. I think the other thing is probably just like, I mean, I think when you're a founder, you get so in the weeds of like what you're doing. So, like it's helpful, I think, to just like take a step back and reflect like weekly, honestly. And even like, again, I'm like a fake founder, right? Like Gen Z VC is like a community. It's maybe it'll be a nonprofit one day, but like the most helpful things for me oftentimes are like just like taking a step back and thinking about like what are the companies that I met this week? What were the biggest pain points that many founders or like multiple founders were like saying or experiencing? Like that was how the marketplace came to be. It was like multiple people were like, I just raised my seed. I'm thinking about product analytics. Do you have any recommendations? And I'd post on Twitter, like, anyone have any recommendations for product analytics? I was like, I should productize this. Like, this should be something that like anyone can access anytime. And that was through just reflection. It was just like this kept coming up over and over and over again. And I was like, problem, gotta solve it. So I think I would say those are my two biggest pieces of advice. But always be kind.
Yeah.
Very simple, but I think really important.
Yeah, that's great. Even before you said the authenticity with the positivity, I'm like, I would totally describe you the same way, and I love that. And I think it's also like getting out of it what you put into it, and I see that in the founders in this room. Like everyone is so positive, they're so engaged, and I noticed that with you. Like I feel like that's a lot of how you've built your whole brand, had so many good things like happen because you like speak so well, but you also like take the initiative to do it, and then opportunities come to you. And I see that so much in this crowd, and like so that's why. Yeah, I think it's full circle. One
thing I will mention too is like, you're like as a founder, you're gonna get a lot of no's from investors. Like, don't let that impact relationships. Like, I'm still very, very close friends with like founders we've invested in, founders that we didn't get a chance to meet, founders that we had to pass on. Like, relationships are everything, and you never know who is gonna introduce you to your next customer, who is gonna introduce you to your co-founder in 10 years. Like relationships are so long. And so like just like this is why I said like always be kind, but like it is so true. Like I think especially like it is so hard to be a founder and be told no. Like more often than not, like it is just going to be a constant. You're gonna get a lot of yeses and a lot of really exciting things, but like part of being a founder is failing often and learning from it. But like don't ever let that impact relationships. If anything, learn from it and like push yourself to like just go out of your way to like be the best person that you can and like bring people into your ecosystem and give them no reason not to love you. Like I love to be loved. Like I really do. But like it's like a core to who I am, but I think it's also just like so important and like building a brand, building relationships, and like building an ecosystem around you, because like it's easier to do that when you have so many people that like want to support you and what you're doing, and like the core of that is being kind. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love it. I love you. I love the founders here. So I want to let them do some questions. So, all right, we got a question in the back. I feel like I'm on a game show. Contestant number 1.
Hey. Test.
Prep for mad realities.
Does this work?
Okay.
I can hear you.
Hi. Wow, I respect you so much, and I've admired you from afar for a long time. We're both very active online. So this is great. Megan for President 2036. I'm campaigning now.
Wait, introduce yourself. Tell me
Oh,
who
yeah.
you are.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Brooke, at Brooke LeBlanc on Twitter, very online. So hit me up. Let's hang. So I'd love to learn more about your what your writing process is like and what goes into writing such a long form piece.
The answer is like extreme focus. So my Metaverse article, again, like I've in the past, I love long form content, and it's because when I get hooked on an idea, I literally can't stop thinking about it. So like my Metaverse article, I did that in 5 days. It was like two to 3 days of like just research. And what I do is like, I'll start on like, maybe it's TechCrunch, and I'll look for like Metaverse, compile all the articles that I need to, and start thinking of like I parse out the key themes. And so for me, it was like, okay, open metaverse versus closed metaverse. I should talk about this. Avatars need to be in here somewhere. I need to talk about the enterprise. And then like, as the themes come together, I start like writing from there. But I think I just need to I need to have dedicated time for writing. So like this, I did that over my holiday break because I'm a weirdo and I wanted to write about the metaverse during my holiday. But it was like 5 uninterrupted days of like just writing and researching, and it was very funny. My family legitimately like banned the use of the word NFTs and the metaverse during my holiday. They're like, you have to stop. Like, and then they were like, wait, you made like $2,000 from this article? Like, teach me. So flip the switch very quickly. And the other thing, like even my TikTok article too, I did that. So I did that article in 3 days, and I wrote it from like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. like 3 nights in a row because I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like I was just obsessed with it. And like for me, it's also like I spend 14 hours a week on TikTok. I have to make this useful. Like this is unacceptable. And it's like, it is genuinely helpful, and it like unlocks a lot of opportunities. So I think writing process, like just give yourself dedicated time, and like honestly keep a notes app of like all of your ideas. And I'm so disorganized. It's so funny. I always say like my life is put together, but like my room is not, and like my brain is not. I'm so disorganized, but like I've like probably 10 notes apps going at once of just like any and every like content idea. I used to like draft out my tweets at one point. I stopped doing that because it just took up too much time. But like I have so many like things that I want to write about, and I just need the time to be able to do it. So that wasn't super organized feedback, but those are the things that I do.
Great. More questions. In the front.
Thank you so much for sharing so much about your experience. It's great to hear, and thank you for being here.
Of course.
I was wondering what you see being the major obstacles in Web3 kind of reaching the mainstream market.
I mean, it is too difficult for people right now to like get into Web3, right? Like for me to like buy my first NFT, it was like I had texted my friends first. I was like, what do I need to do? Where do I need to start? And then I was like, I downloaded MetaMask first, and I was like, wait, why can't I put money in my MetaMask? And I was like, okay, I need a Coinbase account first. Then I have to transfer the Coinbase money to my MetaMask account. And then I have to transfer my that money into like the OpenSea currency to buy my like. Most people will not take that much time or effort to get from point A to point B. Like I have 2 younger sisters who humble me all the time. They're like, you are so old. And I'm like, I'm 24, please give me a break. But like they would never spend that much time doing that. But the reality is like you want my younger sister Jamie, who's 19 years old, in Web3 just as you would want like me, and you want my parents in Web3, right? Like I think the tech ecosystem just needs to mature to reduce friction, just like in any new platform, any ecosystem. And that's why onboarding is so key to any app that you're building. Like having that magic moment for people like immediately, and also making it as easy as possible to get into your ecosystem and stay in your ecosystem, that just isn't there for most of Web3 today. I think also like Web3 is still like very expensive for a lot of people. I'm always like shocked when I see $500 just like disappear from my bank account and like gas fees for like things that I'm buying. I'm like, just all the different intermediaries and transferring that you have to do. So I just think there needs to be the ecosystem just needs to mature a lot to like bring people in from point A to point B. I do think influencers, creators, brands are going and fandom largely is going to be that catalyst, at least for creating a lot more awareness of what's happening. But I do think the ecosystem needs to mature quite a bit.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm founder of Buena. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Meagan, you are super inspiring. Like, your energy is contagious. I'm like, I'm not tired anymore. It's not a Friday night. I feel good. Megan's here. She's making my day. You've done so much at 24. It's like exciting and fascinating, and I think we're all super inspired. where do you see yourself in 5 years and in 10 years? Like, what else are you gonna do? Like, I want to be there.
I genuinely, like, I can barely feed myself. I cannot plan for the future. It is honestly, thinking about the future is paralyzing for me. Like, I can only focus on like what I can control right now. It's a really hard question to answer. I think I'm gonna be an investor for a very long time, and I feel very, very lucky. I've always been someone who like goes after what they want. If people tell me no, that is like an even better way for me to go after what I want. Like, I hate being told no and that I can't do something. Like, I want to be an investor for a long time. I think hopefully like Gen Z VCs is like a larger impact organization. Like, I think it'd be great as a nonprofit. I want to be a mom one day. I want to have like I want to yeah. Well, not enough people talk about like the work-life balance thing, but like my mom is currently getting her MBA. She's actually, I'm not going to say her age because I know this is being live streamed. And she would not like that. But like my mom, like my younger sister was born like with like a heart condition. She had to stay home for a number of years. And like she took like time off from her career to like raise me and my sisters. And I know that I am like hardworking and like really well-rounded because of like all the time that my mom took to like develop me. And like she was my Girl Scout leader. She was my religion teacher. She was my cheerleading coach. She was my soccer like I literally don't know how she did it all. But like being a woman is such like a thread throughout my whole life. Like my mom has 2 sisters. Like I was like raised by like a coven of women my entire life. I have 2 younger sisters, like my poor father. But like I just like I want to be my mom. Like she's like so cool, and like I like just like watching her do her like her home. I mean, I have to help her with like a lot of her Excel stuff. It's so funny. But like she's like going back, and it's actually, sorry, I'm like on a tangent because I love my mom. I can't stop talking about her. But like I talked to my 2 parents, and when I talked to my dad about like where he is at his point in his life, he's like, God, I can't wait to retire. He's like, I just want to fish. I want to be like out in a boat. I want to be skiing. And then I talked to my mom, and she's like, I'm at the beginning of my potential. She's like, I'm going to conquer the world. She's like, I'm going to post on LinkedIn, and I'm going to like change the world. I was a top creator on LinkedIn this week, like, which is crazy town. But like for my mom, creating content on LinkedIn is like the epitome of success. It is the funniest thing in the entire world. But like she's like she's just so inspiring. I'm not gonna say how old she is, but she's getting her MBA, like moving up in her career, and she's like not stopping. And I just think like women who can do it all, I'm just always just so inspired. So long-winded answer, but that's my answer.
David, are we mic running still or?
Who has a question?
Wonderful. Is it? Okay, perfect. Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I've been really enjoying just listening to you, and I think it's very inspiring. I'm Gen Z as well. I'm also 24. I've been building in Web 3 for almost 2 years, which leads to my question. One of the struggles that I sort of came across is to me, it's all about connecting dots, right? It's like taking small pieces of information from Web 3 and applying that to Web 2 in order to make steps towards mass adoption of Web 2. And one of the biggest issues that I experience as a creator within the space, as a builder, is how do I convince these people? And especially, like, I see a lot of women in the space right here and today, which I think is amazing. And I feel like I've been working with both women and men, and I feel like a lot of people that come from Web 2 are all extremely passionate and interested about Web 3, but convincing them on how Web 3 works and just simply explaining them on how community is probably the most important thing. Customers turn into community. How do you convince these people? Like, because I've been struggling to really get my opinion through as a young entrepreneur that is without, making everyone feel like they're bossed around or whatever. That's like personally one of my biggest struggles, and get people to understand how this space works, because it's the generational gap that is causing this confusion and misunderstanding.
I think the key is you shouldn't have to explain to people how it works. You should just be guiding them towards your destination. Like one of the recent investments that we invested in at Lerer Hippeau, it's an NFT enablement platform for Shopify brands. Like, that company should not have to explain like what is an NFT. It should be like, you buy this, you get this. Simple. Like, I think you need to like truly with Web3 concepts, you need to break things down as simple as possible. So like, you're not even talking about Web3. You're talking about the access that it provides, or the empowerment that it creates for the end user, or the ways that you can create content and monetize in like the best way possible. Like, that's why Mirror works so well. It's like, it's not like we're a crypto blogging platform for like Web3 users. It's like, write and make money. Amazing. Like, that is like very easy for anyone to understand. The barrier is the MetaMask wallet, but like Mirror doesn't have to convince people to care about writing. And so I think like the core, the key thing that I think to think about is like, not like, how are you explaining Web3 to the next generation? It's like, how are you helping that end user accomplish their goals or have fun, like whatever it is that's the core to your platform. I think that's the key. Like, I truly think when I think about Web3 and the metaverse, like this stuff should be in the background. Like, you shouldn't even be thinking about it. Like, I don't think like when I'm playing a game, I don't think, wow, I'm in the metaverse, I'm having so much fun. It's like, I'm enjoying this game. Like, wonderful if it's built on the blockchain or not. Like, I'm just having fun because I'm with my friends or because I'm relaxing. Like, that's what I think you need to be focusing on. So,
That's great advice.
Thank you.
We'll do one or two more questions.
Hi, I'm
Hey.
Tiana. I spoke to you earlier. You actually made mention of something that really got me thinking, because a lot of people talk about Web3 and they talk about NFTs, and you mentioned like it's extremely expensive. And it made me think, like, how are people who are underrepresented in like lower income supposed to get involved in Web3? And you said it's just going to have to adapt and take time, but it's creating a whole barrier to a community that can't access it for decades to come.
yeah, I mean, and that's like a lot of Gen Z even still, right? Like for Gen Z, like money is oftentimes that barrier. Like, and I think this is why, well, I like making the decision, for example, should I launch my NFT platform or should I launch my project on Ethereum or Solana? Like, Solana will have less gas fees. You will have like lower barriers to entry for your like end customer. I also think like the way that you're thinking about inclusivity for like your whitelist, for example, or like how many, if you're partnering with a project, like how many are you reserving for your community? How many are you reserving for students? Like, having that intentionality on day one, I think, is very important because it's hard to backtrack from that. Like, and even like, you know, again, like there have been plenty of different NFT projects, right? Like, not every NFT project has to be accessible. Dolce & Gabbana launching a 9-piece 9 NFT collection makes sense for their brand. Adidas launching 30,000 NFTs, much more accessible, and they like really tried to be accessible. Did I get an NFT? No. Did Thea get an NFT?
We
No.
were upset about it. We were there the second it launched, but it's okay.
But like even for Adidas, like accessibility was an issue. Like, not all of their customers, their brand, were able to like accommodate for that. But that's not just a Web3 problem either, right? Like, Olivia Rodrigo's concert tickets sold out in seconds. And like her 0.001% fans on Spotify did not get tickets, and they were furious. If there was like Web3 involved in some way, shape, or form of like Olivia's community, like, I theoretically, right, like her top fans should be the first people that get access because they are engaged, they listen to her music the most, and like they're incentivized to buy those tickets. So I'm going on a tangent, but I do think like having that intentionality on day one, thinking about where the platform lives, how you're doing distribution, and also like how you're marketing the platform and doing it in a community-led way. Like, making sure that like if you're working with influencers, that those influencers represent what the world looks like, and not just your buddies from college at Penn that like are all like your friends and look like you. Like, you need to be really thoughtful about like every single aspect of how you're building like your project, your company, from day one.
Great. We'll do one last question.
Hey.
Hey.
My name's Alana, or Trading Female on Twitter. I'm pretty into the Web3 space, and I'm actually in VC in Web3. And I'm just curious to know what companies you're excited about in the Web3 space, because right now I see that there's a lot of companies just trying to take Web2 ideas and kind of adding an NFT and making it be Web3. But I'm curious to know what you've seen in the market and where you see a gap today.
Totally. Well, I think definitely, like, I'm very, very bullish on gaming, like gaming in a lot of different ways. But like I talked about Nifty League a little bit before. Like, I have never seen a community like that on like day one. Like, I think that's, I love that. I think also like ways to think about just like community engagement over time and like formalizing that in Web3 is really interesting for brands, for creators. Because at the end of the day, like, especially when you're thinking about consumer, you cannot build a business today based on like advertising and like Instagram and Facebook. Like, if you're like truly like if you're a seed founder that's raising a deck, like less than 20% of your use of funds should go towards marketing, no more. That's a generalization. Like, of course, there's going to be different scenarios, but like you should be hiring people that are going to be so insanely creative and like getting your product in front of customers. I think Party Round does an incredible job. They do like some of the best like marketing, even as an enterprise company. But I do think like when it comes to Web3, like you need to be focused. Like, community is so core to everything, and so figuring out ways to incentivize and engage your community. I think also thinking about utility and what does that mean, especially if it's NFT related. Like, I think like people posting their profile pictures as apes, like, great, but like I think like over time there has to be more for, again, like this comes back to how you're bringing in the next billion users. Like, I've seen like many posts on TikTok where it's like someone will post about buying an NFT and then all the users change their profile picture to that NFT and they're making fun of that person because they're like, your NFT, bro? Like, no, it's our NFT now. Like, that is still kind of like the majority of people in the world. And so like to get them over that barrier, you need to convince people why they need to be in Web3. And it is because you get exclusive access, great access to a community, like it's a flex, like a lot of that needs to come through in these projects in XYZ shape or form. And so being able to convey that to the user and like empower brands, companies, creators to be able to convey that, I think will be really important. So that's what I will say, but it's a big world out there. So like even like I learn new things every single day. I'm spending a lot more time in like layer 2 right now. I'm spending a lot more time in the Solana ecosystem. Like, what does that look like in a couple years? Like, the answer is it's a really big world in Web3, and it's an exciting time to be an investor.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for those hot takes and sharing so much about creators, the metaverse, investing. I'll talk to you later tonight when we have our sleepover, so I'll let everyone else go here. But like, just want to thank you. It was such a pleasure to have you join us at Launch House.
Of course, and like, so like, again, female founders are like, you're literally the reason I wanted to be an investor. So thank you for whatever you were bringing out into the world. And yeah, I hope to be a resource and helpful however I can, not to be an annoying VC, but it's true. I really do mean it. And yeah, enjoy Launch House. This is like the best place to be. And really a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Thea, for hosting.
And I will give a plug to Meagan. Meagan's actually one of the VCs when she says that, like, responds to everyone I intro her to. Like, she's awesome about that. So definitely connect with her afterwards. And thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, ladies and gentlemen.